Hey everybody, welcome. Hope everyone's okay. It's Tish here on my usual Monday night live. Sorry I'm a couple of minutes late, but my internet here in the UAE sometimes drops out, which is not ideal, especially when you're just about to do a live. So I'm just gonna chat a little bit before people log on now, as I'm doing this on my business page now from now on, which is the Tish Hawken Resilience Coach page. It may take a while for people to realise where I am, and I'm hoping, I've just got my laptop here, that I can see your comments, because sometimes on my phone I can't see the comments either. So I've got my laptop here, so if anybody does comment, at least I will be able to see them, hopefully. So I hope everyone's well. I know a lot of people tend to watch this on replay, and so if you're watching it on replay, type hashtag replay. If you're watching it live now, type hashtag live. And if you're a new person and you've only sort of recently found me and you haven't, I've gone a bit blurry now, and you haven't seen me before, then type hashtag newbie and I shall say hello to you. So tonight's subject is going to be how to bounce back from adversity. Right, hang on one second. And you haven't seen me before. Right, let's turn that off because my laptop is lagging behind what I'm actually doing. So anyway, so it's how successful people bounce back from adversity. So say hi when you're logging in, let me know that you're here. But before I talk about that, I'm just going to talk about the weather here, because normally in September, so I've been told, it starts to cool down. Well, today I got in the car to pick my daughter up from school and it was 46 degrees, and that wasn't the standing still, you know, the car's been stood still for a while temperature. That was the temperature outside. It was absolutely boiling. So hopefully it's going to start cooling down soon, because it's really difficult to be outside. I mean, it's I'm not complaining. I am not complaining at all, but it would be nice if it just cooled down just a little bit. So hopefully everybody's all settled back in September, sort of new fresh start. The kids are in new schools or in new years in school, and hoping they're all sort of getting on fine. So if you are interested in what I'm going to talk about, then I really suggest you stay and have a listen, because it is really interesting what I'm going to talk to you about, in my humble opinion. Now, for those of you who don't exactly know what I do, I had a message the other day from a lady who I've known for a very long time, and she said to me, "What exactly do you do, Tish? What do you do?" So I explained to her that I help people to develop confidence, strength and joy. I help them develop self-esteem and also resilience. So I'm a coach, I'm an online coach, and that's what I do. So some of you might already know that, some might not already know that. So anyway, let's get on with the subject. So how successful people bounce back. Now, have you ever been knocked down, then recovered, then been knocked down again, then recovered, then been knocked down again, and maybe you've had, you know, multiple knockbacks, curveballs, adversity, whatever you want to call it. Now, I know that I have. Now, this live, oh, I'm sorry about the internet there. I'm really hoping that it just stays with me, because as I say, the internet drops out sometimes, so bear with me if it doesn't. So I was inspired to talk about this tonight because I went the other night, me and the family went the other night to see a film called Alpha, and it's a film that's set 20,000 years ago in the Ice Age, and it's about a tribe of people who have to go on a 5-day trek to hunt what looks like buffalo and bison. And obviously, being 20,000 years ago, they didn't have the home comforts that we've got. And the leader of the tribe, his son, wasn't as strong as his father wants him to be. So he takes him on this trek with the men of the tribe to try and sort of toughen him up, really. And he actually, something really terrible happens to him, but he stays alive, and he's on his own. he gets lost and he's on his own. So basically he's on his own and he has to find a way to get back to the tribe, and because he's lost, it takes him longer than what he thought it would take, because he has no idea of where he's going. And it's a story about perseverance and overcoming adversity. It's a story about persistence and finding your strength, and it was a really inspirational story. I won't tell you what happens at the end, because if you're going to go and see it, then it'll just spoil it for you. But it really inspired me to talk about this tonight, and it's really sort of resonated with parts of my life where I've had to overcome adversity. And it got me thinking about how did I do it, and how do successful people do it? Because we often see people, or we think of people who are successful, that maybe they've never had hardship, but what you'll find is that probably the most successful people have had the most problems, and that's what makes them successful, because they find things within them to help them get through it, which I'm going to go into later. So if you've had multiple knocks, how did you get through them? What did you do? Have you ever thought of that? Have you ever sat back and reflected on how you got through those knocks? And, you know, what can we do when we're so beaten down, when, you know, life is really dealing us a really bad hand, and maybe not just once, but time and time and time again? What can we do when we just think, you know, I just haven't got any more strength, you know, I don't know how I'm going to get through this, this is really difficult, and, you know, I'm still recovering from the last thing. Now, when I was younger and I was going through some of my stuff, and some of you may have seen, maybe I'm in the local press, where I've been featured in the local press, or some of you may have read my book, or you've seen my lives before, that I struggled with a lot of adversity when I was younger. Between the ages of 14 and 27, I struggled with things like parental divorce. I was without a home for a couple of periods of my life. There was no extended family to lean on. I had anxiety and depression. I suffered 3 close bereavements. I struggled with people emotionally abusing me. There was physical abuse. So there was a lot that I was dealing with in that period of time. Now, I did find ways to get through that and to overcome, but I did make mistakes as well. I made mistakes. I drank too much at the time. I closed myself off to people because life had taught me that I couldn't trust anybody, or I couldn't trust anything. I overworked myself as well, so I was totally overworked. I threw myself into my careers. I had 2 careers at the time, and they were the mistakes I made when life got difficult. But life just kept throwing these curveballs all the time. So when we keep getting knocked, the things that we can feel are, well, our emotions can become quite negative. So we can be sad, angry, frustrated. We can blame others. We can lose self-belief. We can get anxious. We can get a touch of depression, or we can go into a depressive episode. But one of the main things that can happen when life knocks us and knocks us and knocks us is that we can, our self-esteem or our self-worth, how we value ourselves, can really dip. And that's what I focus on working with people, is raising their self-esteem, or one of the things that I'm really passionate about. So if we're getting knocked and we're feeling all these things and we're thinking all of these things, so we can think, why me? You know, why has this happened to me? We can have that kind of attitude. It can lead to different things as well. So we could possibly have poor relationships. We could stay stuck in that pain, and we're going around in circles and we don't know how to get out of it. We can live in hope that other people will change, or that circumstances will change. What else? We can stop enjoying ourselves. We may become ill, either physically, you know, or psychologically. We may become ill, depending on how resilient you are, how many knocks you've had, how you've dealt with the knocks. And so it's really easy to say, what's the point? You know, just what's the point? I give up, you know. So if you can relate to this, let me know. Put in the comments box that you can maybe relate to any of these signs or symptoms that you've had. If you've had knocks, how did you get through it? What were the emotions that you felt? So, because I'd love to be able to hear, your stories if you're willing to share as well. So how do successful people bounce back from major knocks in life, or from, lots of little knocks? How do they bounce back and continue on to be successful in whatever way you deem success to be? Well, I've noticed that there's 10 ways, or at least 10 ways that successful people are able to bounce back. Now, the first thing is that they have a positive attitude. So no matter what happens in life, they will have the attitude of, I know that deep down I'm going to come through. I'm going to ride this storm, and I know I'll come out the other side. And so they have that general attitude. Number 2 is that they do have negative emotions like everybody else, but they don't stay in them. They've learned how to move out of those negative emotions quite quickly. We must be able to feel our emotions, but if the problems start when we stay in the negative emotions. So successful people have learned how to feel the pain they're feeling and the frustration and their anger and their angst, and then they've also learned to come out of it as well. Now, successful people remove negative influences or negative people. Hi, Jackie. Negative influences or negative people from their lives. Now that sounds a bit harsh, doesn't it? But if you can recognize that somebody in your life is not serving you, so that that means is really sort of bringing you down in whatever way, shape or form. Whenever you're around them, your energy dips. You just don't feel good around this person. Maybe they're really sort of hypercritical of you. Then, there's nothing wrong in spending less time with that person, and at the very extreme, cutting them out of your life. But that's for you to decide. That's not for me to say. Or any negative influences. Now, this might sound silly to some people, but I remember a point where the programme EastEnders was actually really bringing me down, because I'm going back years now. When I was in the midst of my troubles, I noticed that whenever I watched that programme, I felt worse, and it really tapped into some of the problems that I was having at the time, so I stopped watching it. And I also I keep up to date with the news, but I don't watch it before bedtime. So I'll make sure once a day I catch up with like world news and UK news, but that's it. And I don't read newspapers. So I've taken out of my life negative influences. And unfortunately as well, I've had to let go of some people who really were negative and really were bringing me down. And it's not that I hate those people or I dislike them. It just wasn't serving me, and so I've sort of blessed them and released them, if you like. Successful people also, they don't say, why me? Why is this happening to me? They don't wallow in self-pity. What they say to themselves is, why not me? I'm no different from anybody else. That's what they will say, because successful people, are no different from anybody else. They've just learned skills, and they've got skills and knowledge that maybe we haven't, and they've spent a lot of time doing what they do to perfect it. So they would say, well, why not me? I'm no different from anybody else. So they won't wallow in self-pity. They would take responsibility as well, full responsibility for their life and their actions. Now, they will look and see, they will look inside themselves and see and say to themselves, what part did I play in this? So if something's bad or untoward or difficult, challenging is happening in their life, a successful person will sit back and reflect and say, what part am I playing in this, or what part did I play in this, and how can I correct it, how can I make it better, or how can I learn from that mistake? It's important to be able to take responsibility for your own circumstances in your own life. unless you're dealing with a bereavement, which obviously is beyond your control, unless you're dealing with a natural disaster, which is beyond your control. If somebody is being really horrible to you, you know, there's a hater, or there's just somebody being super, super critical or jealous or all of that nasty stuff, you can't change what they do or say or think, but what you can change, and what successful people do, is they control themselves. So you can't control the person who's throwing the crap towards you, but what you can do is control your reaction to it, or your non-reaction to it, and that's another point as well. So successful people also continually work on their personal development. They're reading books, they're watching inspirational videos, they're following mentors and coaches, they're doing affirmations, they're doing gratitudes every day. So what they're doing is they're feeding their minds and their souls with the things they need to grow and expand. Because with growth and expansion comes understanding of who they are as well, of who they are and sort of how life works and how other people work as well. So successful people are continually personally developing themselves. They keep themselves physically and mentally well. So they will exercise. Now, it doesn't mean they necessarily go to the gym, 7 days a week. It could mean they walk, it could mean they swim, it could mean, they trampoline. I know some people who trampoline in the mornings. The famous Mr. Tony Robbins, he trampolines on a little trampette. If you know Tony Robbins, the amazingly famous coach, that's what he does for exercise, well, amongst other things. And successful people also keep their minds well, and they do that through exercise, but also through all the reading of the books I've mentioned as well. They know what their strengths are, so they will have done personal development work, and they will have drawn out and know exactly where their strengths lie, and they will play to those strengths. So when they're experiencing hardship, they will draw on those strengths and those resources they've got inside of themselves to then be able to get through that hardship and then eventually overcome. And then they will reflect once it's all over. The bad times are over, because we all have them. They will stand back when the storm has gone and the calm has come. They will stand back and look and think, wow, what did I learn then? It sounds like a bit of a cliche, but there's always a learning in a hardship, always, whether you're learning about a situation, whether you learn something about another person, or whether you learn something about you. Usually you'll learn something about yourself in a hard situation, maybe how strong you are and you didn't think you were, maybe how vulnerable you thought you didn't think you were, but you actually are quite vulnerable. Maybe you've learned that you can control anxiety. Maybe you've learned that you're awesome at helping other people through. So successful people always reflect and look back and think, what was the learning in that? So they're the 10 ways that I've sort of identified. Is that which bit is you, Lisa? Let me know which bit is you. So there are the 10 ways that I've identified how successful people bounce back from adversity. So Lisa, yeah, you're now coming out of the storm. Yeah, absolutely. And so are you saying, Lisa, that what you're doing is reflecting back and seeing what you've learned? Is that what you're saying? Just let me know in the box there. So that's the difference between people reflecting. Absolutely, Lisa, it's brilliant to reflect, and taking time to reflect is so important. So yeah, the difference between successful people and people who come out of adversity and people who really get stuck in the negative emotions, the negative thinking. They get bogged down with anxiety, they get bogged down with depression, they get bogged down with illnesses. These are the things that successful people do to avoid that, and so they can carry on being successful. If you want to know how to learn how to develop those skills, then as mentioned, you can look at self-help books, you can follow a mentor or a coach. It doesn't have to be me, it could be somebody else, because I might not resonate with everybody. You could go do courses, self-development courses. There's lots of things you can do to build up your resilience and to adopt the traits that successful people have to get through the storm, because you know the storms are always coming. It's you know, we can't avoid it. Life is just like that. Nobody said it was going to be easy. You know, I remember when I was younger, and when like all the shitstorm started for me when I was, you know, about 14 or 15, I remember thinking to myself, oh, why me? You know, why is this happening to me? You know, and I thought I was all special. And actually, you saw me in a movie in Pakistan. I don't think I've been in a movie in Pakistan, but anyway, maybe it's someone who looked like me. And yeah, you know, I'd thought to myself at that point, because I was so young and so naive, you know, that, you know, bad things won't happen to me, but they did, and they did with a vengeance. And so nobody is immune. And the older you get, the more you realise that, you know, life is just one big roller coaster, you know, and we've got to learn how to manage the bad times. We've got to learn how to do it effectively. Yeah, Lisa, for the next storm, yeah, as you say, we all get them. We do. That, you know, it's horrible. It's a horrible thing to say, isn't it? You know, or, you know, hopefully no one, you know, gets them too often. And there are some people who just sail through life and they hardly have any difficulties, and that is just totally amazing. But for the majority of us, life can get pretty shitty at times, can't it? So having these skills is really, really important. So the end of the film that I saw, so the film that inspired me to do this live, called Alpha, as I said, if you go back, if you missed what I said, go back to the beginning of the video when I post it. I'm not going to tell you what happens at the end, but it is a real story of endurance and overcoming and hardship and pulling out your strengths. And so if you're looking for any inspiration down this line, then I highly recommend the film. It's called Alpha. So that's me for this evening, guys. If you want to learn more about what I do, then you can do. I've got a free Facebook group. It's absolutely free. There's no payment or anything like that. So what I do in the Facebook group is I offer support and advice and guidance for people who are looking to find more confidence, more joy, more resilience, and more strength. Now it's there we go. Normally it is just for ladies. Now I'm trying not to be sexist here, but it is for ladies because I like it to be a safe place for women to be able to chat if they need to. So if you'd like to join that group, all you need to do is just type in the chat box group please, and I will add you to that group. Also, if you want to learn more about my story, then you can do in my book, which has gone to #1 bestseller on Amazon, I'm proud to say, and it's called Grit School. You can get it from Amazon on paperback or Kindle right now. And that's me for tonight. If you think you might know somebody who would benefit from this video, then please tag them in it or post it into their page or into a group, and share it on your page, and hopefully it may help some people. So thanks for joining me, and hopefully I shall see you all soon. Take care. Bye.